Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome into the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Over 20 years experience in the financial industry. Rick is a partner of the team at Safeguard. I'm Mark Elliott. Glad you're with us today. We're going to talk about a lot of different things as we always do. Today, we're going to be delving into the 401k IRA retirement. And you think about it, that's where we're putting our money while we're working today. There's still pensions out there that Rick runs into and the team at Safeguard runs into, but there are more and more people that don't have a pension. So IRAs and 401ks are kind of where the retirement money is. The studies show that as a whole, U.S. retirement assets are more than $32 trillion, and over half of those, over $19 trillion, is in IRAs and defined contribution plans, 401ks. We're going to talk about that today. But again, if you have any questions about any of this, you can always call the team at 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. The website to learn more about Rick and the team, safeguardinvestment.com, safeguardinvestment.com. But today, we're going to break out something a little different for you, an opportunity for you, and that is we're adding a text line. So here you go. The text line, 951-667-4969. And you go, well, what am I texting? Well, you have two options. One is you can text the word toolkit to that number, 951-667-4969. You're going to get the retirement toolkit, which is basically a lot of different information on different areas of retirement, the retirement guides, if you will. You just be able to download them. There you go. There's no cost for this. But you also have the opportunity to watch a 30-minute webinar that's all on retirement planning. And so the other thing is we're going to talk about in just a second. But on that, Rick, the toolkit, the retirement guides, the webinar, can you give us a little bit more info?
Yeah. What we did is we set up this toolkit, and there's going to be a variety of different information because obviously, people listening to the show, they may have questions about different topics. So we'll have a brochure that they can specifically download on a variety of different topics, whether it's Social Security, inflation, maybe they're concerned about pensions, all the different topics we discuss on the show. But the other thing that we did as well, which is going to be key here, is we've condensed our normal workshop seminars that we do live, and we had set up a workshop, or I'll call it a webinar, that they can actually listen to on this toolkit. It's a 30-minute, 36-minute webinar that'll give them a lot of good information. And my partner, Reed Aberdeen, actually does the webinar, and it's a condensed version of the one that we actually do locally here for individuals that attend the restaurants and things that we have met.
Yeah, absolutely. So the webinar, so it's an opportunity to kind of do your own due diligence, find out more about the team at Safeguard, how does this work? And that webinar is an hour and a half reduced to about a half an hour, and it's all about the retirement planning process, all the things that go into the planning process, the big picture blueprint that the team will create with you for your retirement income, investment, taxes, healthcare, legacy planning, Social Security, Medicare, it's all in there. So to do that, just if you want the toolkit, you want to be able to watch the webinar, just text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. Now, the other word you can text is event, E-V-E-N-T, the event. So that is for upcoming events that Rick and Reed and Eddie and the team puts on for you. There's no cost typically to attend these. So the upcoming events are listed out for you. Get them, but you also sign up right there as well. So a couple opportunities, the toolkit, the webinar, the event, whether you text toolkit or event, 951-667-4969. So that's something that maybe makes everything a little bit easier for you to find out more about some of the questions, concerns you may have about retirement. You're a little nervous about calling the team. Holy cow, Rick's going to try to sell me a timeshare or something, right, Rick? Yeah, I don't think he'll do that, though. Yeah, it's about the team really is here to help you come up with that plan. Can I retire? Well, when can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last? That's the idea at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. They're here to help you. And again, that number, if you just want to go right to them and say, hey, let's get started, 800-700-1980. All right, back to the IRA 401k. Now, Rick, I would say, and you've been doing this for over 20 years, are you seeing them less frequent now than you did when you started in the business?
Oh, absolutely. Without any question. A lot of companies are doing away with the pension plans and even giving people golden handshakes. They're really trying to cut costs, and that has affected many people's retirements. So this is where those people that are planning for retirement. You know, I don't know how, again, people are concerned about Social Security and everything else. This is where now we really need to focus on ourselves, and the 401ks and the IRAs and those type of plans are going to become even much more important for individuals.
Absolutely. And so since most people today retiring will have money in 401ks and IRAs, that is what I think, and I'm not a financial person at all. I have the opportunity to talk with you every week on the program. So I'm 63, so I'm gaining knowledge, every single week on this program. So I thank you for that. But to me, the IRA 401k is what has led to the statement that I've heard about taxes. 4% of Americans today will retire to lesser taxes, which means 96% of us will stay the same or go up a little bit. And it's because of 401ks and IRAs, the traditional side. Would that be fair to say?
Repeat that again. You said that people are going to retire with less taxes?
No, I said only 4% of Americans would retire to less taxes. And I said the reason that is because of 401ks and IRAs.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yes. Let me kind of just give you an interesting thing that occurs. And this is where, when it comes to planning, it's so important. And I just want to clarify this. Traditionally, obviously, any money that we put in the 401ks and IRAs, obviously everybody gets immediate tax deduction. So we get to save money in taxes. And that's the reason why people put money in that stuff currently. Because then later on in life, they expect that, their income tax bracket is going to go down. The scenario that we're seeing in many cases, and everybody's situation is different, is that sometimes, especially when it comes to, let's say, for example, we'll have teachers that while they were working, you had the tax write-off with the home, you have the kids in the house, you have those exemptions, you have all these different write-offs. Later on, when you retire, kids are out of the home, you don't have those write-offs anymore. The interest on the mortgage, the house is paid off, you don't have that interest write-off anymore. And sometimes those that are fortunate enough to still have a pension, their income is virtually the same in retirement now with less write-offs, and actually their tax bracket goes up. So it's a situation where everybody's situation is different. And this is where, once again, a good advisor can sit down with you, figure out even what career you're in, what situation you're at, potentially run a mock tax return showing you, hey, listen, is it much better for you to do a Roth or IRA now, or is it much better for you to do it later on? And we'll get more into detail about that. But yeah, everybody's situation is different, and it has to be looked at it from an individual basis.
Absolutely. And so you think about it, in the traditional 401k, they're all tax deferred, right? The government was pretty smart. They didn't want the money on our seed. They wanted the money on our harvest. So that was good thinking on their part. Then they keep moving Secure Act moved in 2020, changed the RMD age, required minimum distribution age, from 70.5 to 72. This year they moved it to 73, and in 10 years it's going all the way to 75. So they're moving that, kicking the can down the road, but that means they get more money at the end of the day when you pass away, or when you have to start pulling those RMDs out and paying because your harvest has grown. So When you think about that, one of the challenges, we're going to get into the Roth world when we come back, I think, because I think it's really interesting, because not everybody should do it, but it does make a lot of sense for a lot of people, Rick. But I don't know if everybody understands. Let's say I'm going to work till 65 or 66. At 59 and a half, most companies allow you to do what's called an in-service rollover, in-service distribution of your 401k, and you don't make the check out to yourself. You're just moving it from, Fidelity to Vanguard or whatever it is. You're just moving it from custodian to custodian, so there's no tax implication. But you're still going to work for another 5-6 years. You're still going to take advantage of the company match, but you're taking more control of your 401k. Do most people know that they can do that?
As far as rolling the money into a traditional IRA?
Yeah. Do they know they have the ability to work, even though they're still working, to roll, let's say at the age of 59 and a half, typically to move money?
Many people don't. So, yeah, it's a scenario that once you have separation of service from your employer, you do have the option of rolling that money over from a 401k over to a traditional IRA. And obviously, Mark, there's advantages and disadvantages to that as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're still working. And so you're doing an in-service rollover of that money. So I'm 50.
Oh, in service. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, in service. Yes. Yeah. Once you become 59 and a half, well, there's two things that are going on in my brain here right now.
Right.
Once you become 59 and a half, you can actually still be working at the same company. And many of these 401ks, you can actually do what's called an in-service withdrawal to a traditional IRA, because now you're getting closer to retirement, and you may want some more flexibility and be a little bit more strategic with your planning that the 401k unfortunately doesn't offer.
Yeah, way more options in the IRA world, no question. Now, The one thing that got you sidetracked a little bit is we were talking about this before the show. If you're 55, let's say you've already won the game, you and your spouse, you decided, hey, we're going to retire now. And so if I have money in 401ks and IRAs, you would not move most of that 401k money into an IRA because there's a 10% penalty to get that before the age of 59 and a half. There's a way if you're retired to do it. So you have to kind of watch that, don't you?
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up because here is something where I see people make a mistake all the time. And I'm going to give you a scenario. I've had scenarios where I've seen people come in and tell me, hey, their advisor told them, hey, you know what, let's take this money and move it to a traditional IRA. Well, the challenge with that is if you do it at 55 or before 59 and a half, if you need that money to retire on, you're going to be penalized. Not only do you have to pay the tax on anything you pull out, but you get that 10% penalty. However, as long as the money stays within the 401k plan and you have separation of service, you can pull that money out. Yes, we got to pay the taxes, but there is no 10% penalty from the IRS. So we have to be careful when we do that, so that way make sure that we're not being penalized.
So that's something that you need to know because there are way more options in the IRA world than typically your work 401k. But if you're going to retire early, then it makes sense to leave some of that money because you can get to the 401k, not the IRA, without that penalty. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Do I move some of that IRA or 401k into the Roth world? We're going to talk about that when we come back. There's a lot of moving parts, which is why we've created the text line for you. If you text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969, you're going to get the toolkit. Now, the toolkit is a bunch of different retirement guides on different topics of retirement. Could be taxes, could be Social Security. There's just a lot of information there that's included in the retirement toolkit. All you have to do is text the word toolkit, and you'll also get that webinar that Rick was talking about, which is a condensed version of their live events. So it's a great opportunity for you to find out more about the team at Safeguard, find out more about some of the questions, concerns you may have about retirement. Just text the word toolkit, one word, toolkit, to 951-667-4969. There is no cost, no obligation for this. This is all to help you get a better handle on where you are on that road to retirement. Text the word toolkit, 951-667-4969. So we're talking IRA and 401k today. We're going to talk about what happened with the Secure Act, doing away with the stretch IRA. How did that affect retirees? And we're also going to talk about the Roth world of the IRA and 401k world. Does that make sense? We're going to talk about all that with Rick Rivera when we come back, right here on the Big Picture Retirement Show. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Rick has over 20 years of experience in the financial industry. He's a partner, along with Reed Abedin and Eddie Soda, of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. I'm Mark Kelly. Glad you're with us today. We're talking 401k and IRA. And remember, Safeguard is about retirement, income, investment, taxes, healthcare, legacy planning, Social Security, Medicare. There's a lot of moving parts. Well, some of those big tools we have in our retirement portfolio would be IRAs and 401ks. And if you think about it, our grandparents didn't deal with this. I'm 63, so my grandparents retired in the 70s. They had pensions, Social Security, high interest rates at the bank because it was high inflation in the 70s and 80s. Get 10, 12% from a CD. Income was not a challenge. Well, today's retirement world, if you're not lucky enough to have a pension, you're talking 401ks and IRAs. So the traditional side started in 1974 in the IRA world. 1978, 401k started. The Roth side of those, IRA, 1997, Roth 401k in 1998. So in essence, really, Rick, these are retirees that you're helping figure out 401ks and IRAs because I think our grandparents didn't need Safeguard Investment Advisory Group.
Right. And things are becoming more and more complicated. So, they need professionals to help them kind of figure out the landscape when it comes to retirement planning now.
Because now it's on our shoulders. Now it's on us to make the decisions. Where am I pulling from first in retirement? What about this and that? How do I make sure that I'm going to be okay in retirement? And that's what Safeguard's here to do, walk you through the big picture blueprint, which is covering income, investment, taxes, healthcare, legacy, Social Security, Medicare, all those moving tools that we really need, those pillars, if you will, of retirement. So the Roth IRA started in 1997, the Roth 401k in 1998. Rick, I have at work, I put my matching part into the Roth 401k. the company's putting into the traditional side. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, everybody's situation is different. But what I can tell you, the advantage of doing the Roth is that, as we know, any money you put into it right now, obviously you don't get a tax deduction up front, but later on, the money you pull out tax free. The other big advantage that I want to make sure that everybody is clear on is that at 73, when you are forced to make distributions out of your IRAs, your 401ks, with the Roth, you're no longer forced to take a distribution out of that account. So it can accumulate tax-free beyond 73. The other thing, too, that is critical, and is a big component here that I want to make sure people don't miss, is that we have to remember any money that we pull out of our IRAs and any other income sources, 401ks and things of that nature, not only are we taxed on it, but it has a direct impact on how much of our Social Security and pensions are going to be taxed as well. Where if I'm pulling money out of my Roth IRA, it doesn't have an impact on the tax, how my Social Security is going to be taxed. So there's a double whammy there.
I suppose that's the same for Medicare premiums that we pay on Part B.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the Roth world of IRAs and 401ks is really an interesting world because of taxes, because of the IRA and 401k tax deferred tools that they are, which are great. They saved us tax money, during our working years. Should we move some of the money into the Roth? Because down the road, it might make a lot of sense, as Rick was talking about. That's another scenario that not for everybody does it make sense to move to Roth. How do you help people figure that out?
Basically, what we do is we actually run a mock tax return for them. That way, they're not making decisions in a vacuum. What we do is we actually, look at their current tax situation. We figure out where the income and everything is coming from. And then what we figure out is what tax bracket they're in. And then what we do is we figure out, hey, does it make sense for them to do conversion? Should they be contributing to a Roth? If I have somebody that all they're doing is they're getting money from Social Security, well, they're not paying taxes anyway. So a Roth is not going to help them. But I have somebody, people in different tax situations where it makes complete sense because their income is more than sufficient to manage their current lifestyle. And at 73, they're going to be forced to take distributions, which is going to throw them into a higher marginal tax bracket and cause, extra problems down the road. So really, we take it on an individual basis and actually show you in black and white through running a mock tax return if it would make sense for you to do. And we actually have strategies that we can employ that if we're going to do these conversions, if it makes sense, we have a way of doing it where you can actually pay the taxes on this money wholesale instead of retail.
So there's a lot of moving parts. And these are the topics that they do in the live events that Safeguard puts on. You can text the word event, find out about upcoming events that you can attend, typically no fee whatsoever to sign up for these. Text the word event to 951-667-4969. You'll find out about all the upcoming events. Where are they? When are they? Hey, does that work in our schedule? Hey, we'd love to go to that. We've listened to Rick on the radio. Let's go see him in person, get a different feel, see if he's the same guy as that big radio star that Rick Rivera is. Let's see him in person. So text the word event for the upcoming events, and you can also sign up for those events right there. Text the word event to 951-667-4969. One of the big things that's happened in the Secure Act world, because we had the Secure Act that passed in 2019, went into play in 2020. We had the Secure Act 2.0 that passed last year that's into play this year in 2023. And it moved the required minimum distribution age from 70.5 to 72 in 2020. And in 2023, moved the required minimum distribution age from 72 to 73. We also know in 2033 that required minimum distribution age is going to 75. But one thing that the first Secure Act did was do away with the stretch IRA, which I thought was a cool thing. If I had money and I was going to leave it to my kids, I'm 85 and I passed away, left to my 40-year-old kids. Next thing, they've got 40, 45 years to pull money out and pay taxes as they went. But that's a 40-year horizon. Is much different than a 10-year horizon. And the Secure Act 1.0 did away with that stretch IRA. Now there's a 10-year window. Did that affect any of your clients at Safeguard?
Oh, absolutely. And keep in mind, when you're talking about leaving money behind to children and heirs, think about, most of my clients, to be quite frank with you, they're like, hey, listen, Rick, you know what? If there happens to be something left over, of course, I want the kids to get it. But I'm not looking to do without in order to leave a bunch of money behind. But I do have clients that have special needs situations. And, you know, if they do need to maximize what they're leaving to the kids, the IRS shortened that window to 10 years. So anything that's left in that IRA after the 10th year, they have to pull out, and there's a big balloon payment due. So here is where now we even have to be more strategic for the kids, where we can show them strategies on, hey, listen, due to the new rules, here's a way that you can pull the money out. And of course, you know, it's not as good as the old rules, but here's a way we can do it in a more tax efficient manner for the kids. And then of course, those that have special needs situations where they do need to make sure they maximize what they're leaving to a specific child or family member, there's strategies that we can employ there as well. Again, so they get more of the money and a little less to Uncle Sam. So yeah, this is where planning really needs to come into play.
Absolutely. As we have thrown a lot at you about 401ks and IRAs, and I think you'd get, if you have questions about any of that, you can always call the team at Safeguard Investment Advisor Group, 800-700-1980, because there's so many moving parts here. Do I move money into the Roth world? I'm going to retire early. Do I leave money in the 401k? How do I do all of that? And Rick and the team are here to help you decide, 800-700-1980. And then in that 45-minute chat, if you come in and sit down with the team, Rick, what do you always tell people?
I tell them, listen, if you come in within 45 minutes, I'll give you at least 2 ideas that'll enhance whatever it is that you're currently doing.
How about that? 2 ideas that will enhance what you're currently doing. 800-700-1980. And then don't forget, you can always text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969. And you get the different retirement guides, taxes, Social Security, and the like. There's a lot of information in that retirement toolkit, but you also get the webinar that Rick and the team put on. Reed Aberdeen will do the webinar, and it's a condensed version of their actual live events when they're talking about their retirement planning, walk through the process. So again, text the word toolkit for the retirement guides and the webinar, 951-667-4969. No cost, no obligation for any of this. Glad you're with us today for the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. Rick, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week.
Same to you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC. This radio show is a paid placement.